Today we are going to discuss about what are registers, what are addressing modes, and we have two instruction set architecture. One is reduced instruction set computer, the other one is complex instruction set computer. Now, what are registers, right? And don't get confused with the word uh, electronic word register. Okay, this is register. It will give the resistance to the flow of current. So we are not talking about this. What we are talking about is the register, like attendance register. Attendance register. So attendance register is to save the information of student absent or present. So we are going to record. So register are like a kind of memory. Registers are kind of memory. Now where this memory is been present, this memory is been present in processor. So therefore, since it is present inside the processor, so therefore we call it with the name register. So it is not a normal memory, it is the processor's memory. So therefore, hence we call it as a register. Now, why we call such memories? We won't call our general notebook, right? So uh, when a teacher comes inside the classroom and start noting down the attendance of the student, so it will be noted in a register, not in a notebook. So notebook is kind of a general purpose. So it is like a memory. When that same notebook, when we have a fixed structure, student names will be there, USN names will be there, roll number wise it will be written, date we will write in that attendance register. So only what information I can write inside that register, only as an A or B, A or P, absent or present, right? So only two options are there. So these registers are also been classified as, these registers are classified as GPR, general purpose register, and one more category classification we have is SFR, special function register. Now, if you look at the design of the register, they are limited in size. I mean, they are few in number, few in number. Why they should be few in number? Because when we look at the processor, which is, we have a processor chip. Now inside this processor chip, we used to have major blocks, building blocks is ALU, right? And control unit, and one more section is register. Now, what is the purpose of processor? What is the purpose of processor? To manipulate the data, not for the storage purpose. The main objective of processor is to manipulate the data to produce the desired result. So that is the main objective of a processor, and processors are not basically meant for any storage purpose. But however, we require register section, we require a storage area inside the memory. Why it has been required? The answer is, say for example, I'm going to take one example, real-time example. Now, if you look at our dresses, a normal daily wear, what we use, casual wear, and you uh, compare our casual dresses with the army uniform dress. Now, what is the difference you feel from the army uniform and our casual dresses? Uniform, they have many pockets. To hold pistol, you have a pocket for that. To hold bullets, we have a pocket for that. To hold knife, we have a pocket for that. To hold their medicine, they have a pocket for that. To hold the uh, what the ammunitions or the rifles, right? And now, why we provide that pockets for the army uniform? For the easy access. They, they can even keep in the bags also, or they can even keep that in a locker also. But why we are not keeping in the locker? They always carry with them wherever they go. Even if you look at their shoes, even the shoes are also having a pocket. to hold the knife, right? So why all these features have been provided in the army uniform? It is for the easy access. They can't wait because they don't have time to respond, right? So immediately, instantaneously, they need to respond. So that is the reason why we need a memory. No doubt the major processor job is to manipulate the data, to process the data, but we require immediate operands. When we can immediately manipulate the data, process the data, when the data is available. Now, where is the data available? The major data will be available in the memory storage area, right? Now, in order to get the data from the memory and then processing that data will consume the time. Now, what we thought is to reduce this read and write time from the memory. Why can't we store the critical data in the register itself, in the memory which is within the processor, so that the processor will not waste in retrieving the data from the memory. So that is the reason why we have a register. Now, can we have the large amount of register? Everywhere can we put pockets for the army's uniform? No, we need to have a limited number, and the purpose is also specific. You can't store anything inside that, right? So where pistol is meant to hold, pistol only you need to keep it. Where the knife, so we need to keep knife only, because that is designed for that. Similarly, they say here in the when we are going to insert the memory in the processor, then there must be limited in memory. There must be limited in memory. If you increase the size of the register, what happens? So you need to reduce the features of control unit and the ALU, which is not reasonable, which is not feasible. So we cannot reduce the complexity or the features associated at the ALU, because that is the job of the processor. So we can't compromise that. So therefore, it should be limited in size. And second, that should be fixed in size. As I told you that the size of that register also needs to be fixed. It cannot be varied. Okay. So that are the major features of what registers. Now, if somebody asks you the question, what are registers? We must able to tell registers are the processor memory, and the characteristics of processor's memory is they are limited in number, few in number, and they are fixed in size. And the registers are classified as general purpose register and special function register. The next topic is addressing modes. So this is our processor, and here we have the memory which is outside the processor, and we have also a memory which is inside the processor, that we call it as register. As I told you, the job of the processor is to process the data. It needs to manipulate the data to produce the desired result. Now, whether the processor will read the data from the memory. So how the processor needs to read the data from the memory? First, processor needs to generate the address where the data is located. And once it identifies the data from the memory, then the data will be retrieved from the memory and it will be read by the processor. So to read the data from the memory, that bus structure, we call it as data bus. And to send the address, so we have a bus called address bus. Now, what is bus? Bus is a group of wires, group of lines, and those group of lines are further classified into data bus, address bus, and one more bus we have there. It is called as status bus. Whether it is going to read the data or whether it is going to write the data into the memory. So we have various status also available. Now there are many ways. The processor will have what? Various ways to access the memory, right? So that various ways of accessing the memory by the processor is called or termed as addressing modes. The processor can access the memory, that is processor's memory, then we call it as register addressing mode. If it is directly memory it is referring, then we call it as direct memory addressing mode. If we are accessing the data from the memory indirectly, then we call it as indirect addressing mode. So like this, we have many ways. The processor has many ways to access the data. Now, those ways we are going to study one by one. The first one is immediate addressing mode. Immediate addressing mode, right? Now, in the memory, what are the contents we are going to store inside the memory? Inside the memory, we have the information, and that information can be a program and or it can be a data. So program memory, data memory, we call it. And here we have a processor. So where our programs, whatever the program we write, it is being stored in the memory. And once the processor will start retrieving our information, that information can be a program or that information can be put into a data, right? And remember, the processor job is to manipulate the data. Now, what kind of manipulation it needs to do? We will tell whether we need to perform addition on that data, or I need to perform subtraction on the data, or any logical operation I need to perform. So what kind of manipulation you want to do, what kind of operation you want to do. So that we call it as operational code. In short, we call it as opcode. So opcode means OP stands for operation, right? And this data, we call it as operand. Operand refers to data. So whenever the processor wants to do something on that data, so it must contain what? An operational code and also the operand. That is what the program means. So program contains the instructions. Now, what is that instruction means? A set of instruction. This instruction means, so it contains an operational code and where the operands are available. So now when the processor will fetch that instruction, along with that instruction, what all we are retrieving? The operational code along with the operand, right? And we will categorize this memory into program memory and data memory. So we have one section of the memory where we store the programs, means instructions are available. Each instruction contains what? The operational code and the operands. Now, once the processor receives that instruction, so it will start decoding. So the instruction, when it is going to read from the memory, that phase we call it as fetch phase. Now, in the first phase, what it do? It will read the instruction. Where it is going to, from where it is going to read the instruction? It will read the instruction from the program memory. Now, instead of saying only memory, we are using the word program memory. Now, what is program memory? Program memory is a memory where the program resides, right? And I have defined what is program. Program is a set of instructions. Now, what is an instruction? Instruction contains two major fields. One is operational code and other one the operand. After reading the instruction, now the processor will go and decode that instruction. It will decode that instruction. Now, what is this decoding? So it will separate out the operational code and it will separate out the operands. Now, say for example, operational code can be add. Operational code can be add. Say I'm going to write one instruction, add r0 comma hash 10h. So this is one of the instruction. So this means an opcode, and these are the two operands. Now, what is the meaning of this instruction? It will add the content of a register. Now, where are the registers available? The registers are available inside the processor. So say for example, here we have R0 register. And where is this immediate value? Now, this immediate value, neither it is stored in data memory or nor it is stored in register. It is stored along with the instruction. Now, where is this hash 10? This hash 10 is in the program memory only. When this data is being stored along with that instruction, such data we call it as immediate data. I repeat. Now, what is this immediate data means? Immediate data means the data that is being stored in the program memory. Immediate data means, because program memory means what? The program memory is a memory where the program is stored. But along with that program, this is the instruction. Now, along with that operational code, we are going to tell that this operand is stored within this memory only. It is not stored. One of the operand, it is stored in register. We are telling this data is one data is available in register. Okay. Now, where is the other data? It is not in the data memory. It is in the program memory. It is saying. So such type of data we call it as immediate value. Immediate value. Now, once it decodes the instruction, now what happens? It will identify the operational code, and the operational code is add. Now, where are the, for addition, we require minimum 2 numbers. The first operand must be where it has identified that one operand, one value is available in register R0. The second data, it is available in where? In the program memory. In the program memory. Now, this is the meaning of what? Decode. It has identified now. It has dissected the instruction which has been read from the program memory. After the dissection of the instruction, now it will try to fetch the operands now. So processor, it will go and check the content of register R0. Say for example, the content of register R0 is 20H. 20H. Now what it is going to do, if the content of R0 is 20H, it will take it, and along with that instruction, immediate value means along with that instruction it has come. So that immediate value is, say for example, 10H. So now it is going to add 10H from the program memory, and finally it will start performing the operation. And that phase we call it as execution, the execution phase, and it will produce 30H. Now, where this 30H result needs to be stored? This result will be stored where? Again in the R0. So what is this instruction now? Instruction add R0 comma #10. So it will take R0 is equal to R0 plus 10. So we have defined the first operand needs to be act as source operand also and destination operand. And the type of this instruction format is 2 address instruction formats, because we have given 2 addresses. But 2 addresses are not sufficient, because we need a destination and we need 2 sources. But if you look at the 2 source operand, we could have given like this: add R1 comma R0 comma #10H. So this way is become 3 address instruction format. This represent destination, this represents source operand 1, and this will represent source operand 2, right? And R1 is equal to R0 plus 10H. Now this is 3 address instruction format. In 3 address instruction format, we are going to specify destination separately and 2 sources separately. Or you can combine the source and destination common. You can commonly define. So then it will become 2 address instruction format. And we will discuss why we need to have, what is the significance of 2 address instruction format, 1 address instruction format, 3 address instruction format. We are going to learn in the next coming classes. Now, if you look at the mechanism, how this immediate value has been read from the program memory and then it is added with the register content, this is one way of accessing the data by the processor. So this way of accessing data is called as immediate addressing mode. Are immediate addressing modes are faster in execution? Answer is yes. Why? Because the other operand, if it is this operand is available in the data memory, what happens? Now again, processor needs to find out the address of the data memory. Where is that data located? It needs to generate that address. Okay, so it will take, if it needs to retrieve the data from the data memory, then it will consume time to calculate its address, and then it needs to retrieve that data from the data memory. So that is the additional time it is going to spend in retrieval of data. So in immediate addressing mode, it becomes faster in execution. Likewise, we have second type of addressing mode, and that second type of addressing mode is register addressing mode. register addressing mode. In register addressing mode, what happens? I will write an example using two address instruction mode only. So add R0 comma R1, R0 comma R1, and the first operand always specify it is indicate source operand as well as the destination operand. Now, what is the operation description of this instruction? It is going to add the content of R0 register and the content of R1 register, and the sum of these two register content will be stored again in the R0. So this is the two address instruction format. Two address instruction format it is. And if I am going to write three address instruction format, so how I supposed to write? Add something like this, R2 comma R0 comma R1 or R1 comma R2. So this, the description of such instruction is what? It is going to add the content of R0 and R1 and it is going to store in R2. Now, this instruction, again, it is available in the program memory. So I will write here, PM means program memory and DM is data memory. And here we have a processor. Now, when it retrieves the instruction from the program memory, when it is going to retrieve the instruction from the program memory, now what it has got now inside this processor? Add R0 comma R1. Whether it has got the data? No. In the instruction, we have told where the data resides. Here, the value of that data is not there. The value of data is not there. Where it is? Inside what? The processor. So say, for example, R0 equal to 10 and here R1 equal to 20. So data is in the processor's memory, but we are writing in a program that we are writing an instruction that adds the content of register R0 with the register R1. And both together, the sum of that needs to be stored in R0. In the instruction, the data is not available. So in the fetch cycle, what happens is it will get the instruction add R0 comma R1. And in the decode instruction, it will identify the opcode, that is add, and it has identified the operands, not the value. It will identify that one operand is in R0, the other operand 2 is in where? In R1. In R1. So now in execution phase, it has identified where the data resides. So it will go to R0 address, take its content, it will take the R1 content, and then it will add both together. And in the execution phase, it will go and store the result again in the R0. Now this time it has become. Now this way of accessing the data by the processor is termed as register addressing mode, right? So in register addressing mode, the data resides in the processor's memory. Another type of addressing mode, now that direct memory addressing mode. What is direct memory addressing mode? So I will create one scenario. I will take again one example of add only. So add R0 comma. I will write what? The address of the memory. Now, how this will, I will draw one figure, how it looks like. So here we have a program memory, right? So PM means program memory. And inside this program memory, we have this instruction, right? So I'm going to write it here. And here we have a data memory. And data memory is having the memory locations, right? So these are the memory locations of the data memory. And one of the memory locations, say for example, is 1000H. And here we have the content 10. So this is the value. This is the value. So 10 is a value. And this 1000H is an address. In immediate addressing mode, what we have seen, the immediate value itself is present in the instruction. And what about in register addressing mode? Neither immediate value nor the memory address, data memory address, the registers names are present, right? Registers, which register, where the data is available. So that we have seen. But in direct memory addressing mode, what happens is when a processor receives the retrieves the instruction from the program memory, when it retrieves, so it has fetched now the instruction add R0, 1000H. And in the decode phase, what it is going to do, in the decode phase, it will decode and it will identify what is the operational code. It will identify it is addition, and operand 1, it will identify it is present in R0, and operand 2, it needs to retrieve again from the data memory. And that data memory, now what, during execution phase, can it add directly the content of register R0? Now 20 with what value it needs to add? Can you add with 1000H? No, 1000 is an address. Again, what processor will do in the execution phase, before it will perform the operation, right? So it, one more data is missing. One more data is missing. Now where it is missing? It is not missing means what? It is not directly available with the processor. Now again, it needs to go to 1000H memory location, and from that memory location, it needs to get the value, and that value will be, say for example, we have considered it is 10, right? Then it needs to perform the operation. Then it needs to perform the operation. Now what operation it will perform? It will perform the content of R0 with the content of memory location whose address is 1000H. Why 1000H? Because we have mentioned in the instruction that we are going to add the content of R0 with the content of memory location whose address is 1000H. And how we are going to describe this one? R0 is equal to R0 plus the content of 1000 memory. The square bracket will represent the content of memory location whose address is specified within that square bracket. Okay, so this method, now how it is accessing the operand now? It is going to access the operand whose address is specified in the instruction, right? In immediate addressing mode, what we have seen, in immediate addressing mode, no need to go again and access the data memory. It is readily available. It is readily available along with the instruction itself, And what about in register addressing mode? Again, the data does not resides in data memory. The data resides in the registers. So we are going to add the processor's register itself, right? Now in the direct memory addressing mode, what we have seen that 1000H is the data memory location and its content needs to be added with the content of R0. So this method, we call it as addressing mode, we call it as direct memory addressing mode. Remember that we call it as register indirect memory addressing mode. Now what happens in this addressing mode is that we are not going to mention, let's say for example, add R0, 1000H. Now this, if I mention, then this will become direct memory addressing mode. Now what is the meaning of indirect addressing mode? This address is not specified directly in the where instruction. I need to hide somewhere else, right? So where I'm going to hide, say for example, add R0, I'm going to hide this one in some other register, say for example, R1. Now, if I write only R1, then it is register addressing mode. The content of R0 is added with the content of R1. I need to differentiate between what? Now this R1 is not containing what? Data. If I write like this, then this method is called as register addressing. And so we have the syntax called @R1. Now, if I write @R1, now this mode will become what? Register indirect memory addressing mode. Because the R1 is containing not data. R1 is containing what? An address of the memory location, data memory location. Okay. Now this is how it executes. Say for example, this is processor, and the processors have we have shown here two registers. So I will write R0 10, and here I have written R1, which is 1000. Okay. Now this 1000 is not the value. I will use a different marker. This 1000. Now this 1000 is address and this is data, right? Now where is this 1000? So here we have a program memory. This is program memory. And in the program memory, we have this instruction, add R0 comma at the rate of R1. And here in the data memory, this is data memory. And in this data memory, there is one location called 1000 AH, and that content is 20. Now 10, now this 10 needs to be added with 20. The 10 needs to be added with what? 20. Now how it is going to retrieve this information? We have told go to R1, means it will take R1. It will take R1. And in R1, we have specified address. Now the processor will go to this address and then it will retrieve what? The 20. So 20 will be brought to the processor. 20 will be brought. So this is how the content will be added. So what it will do? It will add 10. Then it will go to register R1, where address is present 100. So it will bring it from 1000 from the memory location whose address is specified. Sorry. Then it is going to store again in R0. So what is the description I can write for this instruction? The description I can write, R0 content is added with the content of memory location whose address is specified by R1. Similarly, we have another type of addressing mode. Now, what is that addressing mode? It says like this. I will write an example. Now we have one more special register called index register. So I will define in our processor special function register, and that special function register I will call it as indexed register. Okay. Index register, we have source index register, source index register. Then I will define one more destination index register. The one who is designing the processor will include such registers, right? R0 plus SI, or I can write here R1 plus SI. Now what is this instruction will do? It will add the content of R0 with the content of memory location whose address is not only given by R1 plus SI. Say for example, SI is something like 1000, source index register, a kind of array. So we have an array, right? Int A of something like 10, A of 10, right? Now, if I write some values here, 1, 2, 3, 4, like this. Now, what is the address of 1? Can anybody tell me what is the address of 1? How you retrieve 1 in an array?
A of 0.
A of 0. Now, what is this A? Is called base address. Base address. Now, what is this 0 called? Index, right? So these two will add together to reach to a particular value. Suppose if you don't have a single dimensional array concept, now how do we need to define 10 values? Then you need to write A equal to 1, B equal to 2, C equal to 3. Like this 10 different variables we are supposed to define. That is why we have come up with the, instead of giving different names, what we can do, we will give a common name, that is A, and with the help of indexing, I can reach to indexed register addressing mode. Now, how it is going to retrieve the data from the memory? So say, for example, I have written, there is some source index 1000, and I will write 1000 in R1, 1000, and the indexing value I will give 2. Index value is 2. Now here we have what? A program memory, and here we have a data memory. Now in the data memory, we have various addresses. Here this is 1000, 1001, right? And 1002, like this. So content is unknown. And here we have a processor. Now this processor will have a register R0 containing what? 10. This is a value. This is a value. And we have one more register R1 and it contains what? 1000. And this 1000 is an address. And how we are differentiating the value and address? With the help of this symbol at the rate. The moment I write at the rate, then that is what? Address. Okay. And one more special register I have included here. Yes, I. That is what? 02. Now what is this 02? An address. Address. Index address, I can call it as. Index address. Now, how it will add the content now? It will add the content of R0. So it will retrieve this value 10 plus. Now it will retrieve the content of what? R1 plus SI. R1 plus SI. So it will first go to R1 and it will take the address. Address is what? R1 address is 1000. Right? But it won't reach to direct memory to the memory location pointed by 1000. Still, it needs to add one more address. Now it will go to source index. It will take 2 address. Now it will go to which address now? It will add the content of the memory location whose address is 1000 plus 2, right? 1000 plus 2. So it will go to 10 plus. Now go and reach to where? 1000 and 2. In 1002 we have 20. So it will add 20. Then it will store 30. So again 30 will come and save here in register R1. So this method we call it as indexed register addressing mode, stack addressing mode. In stack addressing mode, we have 2 primitive operation. One is push operation. The other one is pop operation. Pop operation. So now there is a special memory. There is a special memory in the data memory itself, and that special memory we call it as stack memory. Now I will write SM, stack memory, right? And it has a location. It is part of data memory only, so we don't have any special arrangement. It is part of data memory only. But why we call this as stack memory? Because these memory locations are pointed with one special register, and that special register is called stack pointer register. That is ESP. ESP. If you want to retrieve the content of this memory, right, you cannot use direct memory addressing mode or indirect addressing mode. You have to access this content of this stack memory via which register? ESP. Now such type of addressing mode we call it as stack addressing mode. Say for example, if you want to push the content inside the stack memory, first the default value will be set here. So SP value, if it is push operation, the SP value must be incremented by 1. And then what it is going to do is, in that location, it is going to put the value. It is going to put the value. So this is value. Say for example, 10 is the value. So it will go and put here. If you want to put another value, another operation value, another value you need to push. Say for example, I want to push 20. Then what needs to do? First, SP value is incremented by 1. So where was SP value pointing? SP was pointing here. Now after increment, it will point here, and then it will push the value 20. It will push the value 20. And again, if I want to push another value, right? If another value I want to push, say for example 30, then again the SP value first it will get incremented and then it will write 30. Similarly, we have pop operation. Now what is stack? Stack is last in, first out. Now which value will be pop first? The one which was pushed last, that was 30. If I write pop, it will refer to what? First it will refer and read the value. So it will start reading the value. So it will read the value from where? Pointed by. So it is going to read the value. SP was pointing here. So it will read the value 30. After reading, what it will do? the SP value will be decremented by 1. And what about in the push operation? First it will increment and then it will write. So what it will do? First it will read and then it will decrement the pointer. Again, if you write second time pop, what it will do? First it will read. So what value it will read? Now the value will become 20. Here the value was 30. So it will read 20. After reading 20, what it does, it will decrement the SP. Now the new value of SP will point to 10. So SP again, it will get. So this type of addressing mode, we call it as stack addressing mode. So today we stop the discussion at this point.